Good morning, my dear friends. This is Pastor Les from Fire of Hope Ministries. Today is the 31st of the July 2022. That's so if we're watching this in a few years' time, we know when I recorded it. The other day I spoke to you about a brief history. I gave you a 15-minute history of 6,000 years of God's plan and man's history on earth. Today I want to consider and continue that thought, but I want to consider how close are we to that end. We talked about 6,000 years before Jesus comes back, and so how close to the 6,000 year end are we? Where do you think we're up to in the overall scheme of things? Now, one of the things that I want you to see here is this is a depiction of Jesus talking to his disciples when they asked him these questions. And you can see in the background there that is the old temple, a temple in Jerusalem. So that's a picture of Jerusalem, Jesus and his disciples who are having a private meeting with him, seated on the Mount of Olives, while he discusses with them the end time. So let's have a look at what they say. Let's try and bring that around a bit so you can see it properly. Okay, now this is given to us in Matthew 24, and Jesus is talking about the end of the age. So as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming, and what will be the sign of the end of the age?" And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that nobody deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying that I am the Christ, and will deceive many." Verse 24, chapter 24, verse 6, "And you will hear of wars and rumours of wars." Okay, are we hearing wars and rumours of wars at the moment? We've got the war that's going on in the Ukraine at the current time. But I've been looking back in history, and there has been virtually no time when the world hasn't been engulfed in war. Now, the first major war that took place would be the First World War, 1914 to 1918. That was a major war. And the Second World War, of course, which was on a much larger scale than what the First World War was. So wars and rumours of wars. The world is full of war at the moment, full of rumours of war, with China flexing its muscles over Taiwan and the South China Sea. We've got Russia flexing its muscles. We're all expecting the attack on Jerusalem, on Israel at any time soon. So we are seeing quite dramatically wars and rumours of wars. But Jesus went on to say, "See that you're not troubled, for all of these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation." A more correct translation of that is ethnic group will rise against ethnic group. And we're seeing that happen in many, many places, especially in the Middle East and other places, where at the end of the Second World War or at the end of the First World War, when the Ottoman Empire was broken up, and Britain and France in particular, they drew lines on the map and said, well, this is going to be Iraq, this is going to be Lebanon, and so on and so on. And they divided the land up into countries without a great deal of regard for who was living there and the differences in their cultures and natures and things like that. So this will be ethnic group against ethnic group, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. This is nation against nation. And there will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes. So let's just stop there for a moment. And let's have a look. So there will be famines and pestilences. Well, we're seeing the pestilence, aren't we? COVID was the first example of a major pestilence that has been deliberately foisted upon the earth. Now, I want you to think, as I'm speaking, I want you to understand and I want you to consider in your mind, don't accept what I'm saying, but I want you to go away and think about what I'm saying. I believe that the virus was purposefully manufactured and that it was purposefully released. Now, the United Nations and the World Economic Forum in particular, they have it in their heads that this planet can only support 2 billion people. It already has 7.5 billion people. So that means they got to kill 5.5 billion people. You don't have to be a mathematician to work that out because I'm not a mathematician. But I can work out that 7.5 minus 2 is 5.5. Okay? So they have sworn meetings. I've seen them. They have meetings and documentation where they agree that we're overpopulated by 5.5 billion people. Now, I published the other day the deliberate murder of 27 million people in Shanghai in China, where people have been locked in their houses in the guise of a COVID quarantine, a COVID lockdown. There's no water, there's no food, they're dying of starvation. So you see, my friends, up until now, I could never figure out how they were going to do it. So we've got a virus on one hand, we've got starvation on the other. Starvation is the primary weapon that China is moving at the moment. But when we look at famines, we're already in the process of creating one of the worst famines this world has ever seen. Now, Ukraine and Russia are the bread basket or the grain basket of the world. They produce more grain than anybody else. Now, Russia has blocked the shipping of grain out of Ukraine, and Ukraine can't plant it, can't plant the new crops because of the war that is taking place. So most of Ukraine's grain grows to the Middle East. Now, these countries don't have enough food. Egypt only has enough food by their estimation for the next few months, and after that they're out of it. So we're looking at a huge famine coming upon them. Africa, of course, it hasn't rained for many years, and so they're not growing anything very much. And so the hunger that we always see in Africa is just going to multiply exponentially. Now, understand this, and Ukraine is a clear point. In fact, famine comes after war. So when you deliberately start a war, you are deliberately creating a famine. That's logical, isn't it? Okay, what else have we got here? Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes. Well, we're seeing earthquakes all over the planet as well, and we always have, but we're going to see a lot more of them. And Jesus said, and these are the beginning of sorrows, verse 8 there. So when we talk about famines, I want to show you something. And the question I'm asking in this thing is, how close are we to the end? Okay, how close are we to when Jesus comes back? This is the question that you've got to ask yourself. You've got to ask yourself this, especially if you're not a believer. If you're not a believer and you think, oh, well, this is just talking nonsense. Or you are a believer and you say, well, I just want to get on with my life and I don't want to be worried about such things, but you're in the same boat as the unbeliever. Okay, so let's have a look here and see what it was like. What it was like earlier in Genesis chapter 6, verse 11 to 13. It says, the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So do you think the earth is getting more violent? As we look at the capital cities in America, the murder rates have gone up by over 40%, general violence, people getting ripped out of their cars. You go to the supermarket and do your shopping. Your wife comes back to the car with her groceries and she unlocks the car and people come up and knock her to the ground and steal all the groceries, jump in the car, and they've stolen the car. This is happening on a daily basis, over and over and over again. So the world was, or the earth was full of violence, and God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. Oh, my goodness me. Do you think the earth is corrupt at the moment? Is there a government out there at the moment that is not corrupt? If you know of a government that currently is not corrupt, I'd like you to get in touch with me and tell me who it is. The New Zealand government is the most corrupt government around at the moment, just total traitor she is, selling the country out to a few elite Maori people. Under the new government in Australia, incompetence and corruption is already rearing its head. If you can tell me a government anywhere that's not corrupt, please let me know, and I'll name them on this channel. Okay, God looked upon the earth, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. So they've corrupted God's way, which means that they are no longer following God and following his way of doing things. And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So God decided that he couldn't stand this violence and corruption anymore. He was going to destroy the earth with a flood and kill all those people at the same time, because he had completely had enough of them. Okay? Now, we see here in Luke 17:26, and as it was in the days of Noah. So what we saw, the slide we just saw, was the days of Noah. That's what it was like. And so Luke tells us in the New Testament, as it was in those days, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. There will be violence, there will be evil, there will be corruption, and the people in the main will be completely and utterly clueless as to what's going on. And that is the case today. Okay? So in today's world, how close to the end? This is the question I'm asking. How close to the end are we? This is the question. How close are we to the end? So we saw what it was like in Noah's day, just before the flood came. And so as it is in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days of the Son of Man when he comes back. The earth will be filled with violence. The earth will be evil, or the people will be evil. There will be corruption everywhere. And generally speaking, people are completely and utterly clueless as what is going on around them. And this is particularly true, I'm sad to say, of the church in the current age. The pastors have got no idea where we are in God's prophetic calendar. So they are not teaching their people this. They're not teaching their people how close we are to this end time and to the rapture of the church, which is eventually what we come to. Okay, so let's have a look at violence. Okay, so in 1966 to 75, there were 12 mass shootings. Okay? Now, that's one a year for 10 years. Okay, one mass shooting per year for 10 years. Between 2011 and 2020, there were 160 mass shootings, and I'm talking about here in the United States, okay, because that's where these figures come from. So that's one a month. So we used to have one a year, and now we're up to one a month for 10 years. So there was one mass shooting per month. Now, that shows the graph whereby even though there was just 1 or 10 per month, it wasn't linear. So it's increasing. See how the rate of the climb is increasing. So in 2011 to 2020, there were 160 mass shootings. So we've gone from one a year for 10 years to one a month for 10 years. And it continues to climb. I'll come to that in a minute. So man tells us that the world is getting better. My friend Bob King. G'day, Bob. My friend Bob King says mankind is working it out and that we will eventually sort ourselves out, that we're connecting our brains to computers and we're becoming hybrids and that man will eventually work it out. Well, that sounds like Bob to me. Okay, so God says that things will become increasingly worse. So man says that peace among nations is close at hand. I say that peace has never been further away. We're closer to massive war now than we have ever been, and certainly in my lifetime. Man says that peace among nations is close at hand. God says that there will be wars and rumours of wars and kingdoms against kingdoms. Man expects to win the battle against disease, famine and hardship. God says there is to be fearful judgments of disease, famine and hardship. And so, who's winning this battle? Okay, man says that things are going to get better. Well, God says they're not. Man says that peace among nations is close at hand. We can see God says that there will be wars and rumours of wars. And we can see with our own eyes that peace is further away from us now than it ever has been. So man expects to win the battle against disease. Well, we've already seen that COVID was deliberately created. So how are you going to win a battle against disease when you're deliberately creating the disease in order to kill 3/4 of the population? Now, come on, people, you've got to ask yourself some serious questions. You can't just sit on the horizon and pretend that nothing is going to happen. Okay? So, my friends, how close are we to the end? For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumours of wars, but be not troubled, because these things must come to pass, but the end is not quite yet. For nation will rise against nation, ethnic group against ethnic group, kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. And these are the beginning of sorrows. These are the beginning of labour pains, if you use the analogy of a woman giving birth to a baby. What we're experiencing now is the leaves on the fig tree. Okay, go back and see my video on YouTube, understanding the parable of the fig tree. You must see that video and you must understand what we're saying there. And so what we're seeing happening now on an increasing basis, that violence that I showed you, I don't seem to have the last slide there, But the amount of mass murders taking place has gone from 10 a year or whatever it was, 160 in 1 year, is now basically those numbers are on a weekly basis. We're seeing 10 mass shootings a week in many places right across America, and it's happening in Germany and other countries as well. It's not just happening. So what we're seeing is this massive increase in violence, and the Democrats in America are behind it all. They control these big cities. These big cities where this violence is really taking hold are controlled by Democratic governors because they will not. And they've defunded the police, so the police can't do their job. And why would they want to? Why would they want to? If they arrest somebody, the person's just released straight away anyway. So we're seeing this massive violence. We're seeing pestilences. And now we've got the monkeypox, and now we've got children suffering all kinds of respiratory diseases here in Australia because of being vaccinated. We, my friends, are seeing such terrible violence around the place, and it's going to get worse. What was it like in Noah's time? There was corruption, there was violence, there was evil everywhere, and as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days of the Son of Man. That means when the Son of Man comes back, that the Son of Man is Jesus, the Son of God. So in the time when he comes back to the earth to take control of the earth, and what you have all heard of, the Battle of Armageddon, will be the culmination of that. How close are we? Well, if you're watching the news, then we are very, very close. But this is not a thing to scare you. This is a thing to make you realise that what the Bible says is true, and therefore we need to do what it says. Now, in my coming broadcast, of course, I'm going to be talking about the rapture and why the rapture is true and prove that it is true. That's from my friend George Takani. G'day, George. George and I have little chats in the background from time to time. And so, my friends, the good news is that if you are a Christian and you are a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ and you have given your heart and you've prayed and said, Lord Jesus, I just ask you to forgive me for my sin. I ask that you receive me into your kingdom, into your world, and that you come into my life and become the Lord of my life. If you will pray that prayer and genuinely mean it, then you will escape the worst of what's coming, because you will be raptured with the church. Only people like you, if you've said that prayer, are the church. Nobody else is the church. Nobody else is the bride of Christ. Only those who have given their life to Jesus. And if you're one of these milk-minded Christians that say, oh, well, I don't care about anything like that, I just want to get on with my life and do it. The Bible says that if you love me, look up, because your redemption is near. So I say to you, my dear friends, look up, for your redemption is getting very, very close. In Jesus' name. Amen.